Now, there was a Twitter storm on the weekend, and isn't there one? When the Prime Minister took a couple of days off and went to watch his beloved Cronulla Sharks get flogged. Derryn Hinch, the former senator, said it was a Hawaiian-style blunder at a time of crisis, and former ABC presenter Mariek Hardy said she was lost for words. So some good did come out of this particular one. And in The Australian, this blast complaining it was not a good look having fun while Victoria suffered and not wearing a mask either. Well, joining me is Daisy Cousens, YouTube star with her own video channel, much watched as it is. Daisy, bad look or was it just another confected outrage?
Oh, this is so overblown, Andrew. It's people whinging for the sake of whinging. I think there is a vast difference between leaving the country to go on holiday to a tropical paradise with your family while the bushfires rage. Okay, that's probably not a good look. And spending a couple of hours at the football when your team doesn't even win. So I don't actually know how nice of a time he had, particularly in a state like New South Wales, which has the virus largely under control. I mean, the Casula cluster is a worry, but they've identified it, they're taking steps to stem it, etc. And if anything, Andrew, he's setting a good example for Australians by showing that they can start to enjoy their favourite activities again by maintaining safe social distancing. And as for criticism that he wasn't wearing a mask, well, masks are only really effective if you're already sick to prevent you from spreading it to other people. You know, there's not sort of a hard and fast consensus about masks as to how effective they are in keeping you well. So I'm sorry, but this is unfair. Scott Morrison has not had a good time lately. He's led the world on our coronavirus response. It's not like he hasn't been pulling his weight. Give the guy a break and let him have 2 hours to himself, for goodness sake.
I don't know. Some of those virus hysterics seem to me they wouldn't be satisfied unless he was cowering in a cellar, refusing to come out, doing a Joe Biden, you know. Please, a little less hysteria would suit us all a lot, I think. Daisy, I am so dead against racism, no matter what race we're talking about, as the perpetrator or the victim or whatever. But there is a reason that we try to avoid treating children as criminals like, the British courts did centuries ago. And it's this: they don't have the same moral responsibility that comes with age, and some people don't even get it then. That is why I was disgusted when the media and footballer Adam Goodes identified and publicly shamed a 13-year-old girl, called her the face of racism, when she called him a nasty name at the football. But Britain, unbelievably, has gone even harder. Police said they were alerted to a series of racist messages sent to a footballer today, a Crystal Palace player, black, and they were racist, these messages. They called them the C word, included a picture of the Ku Klux Klan, which we've blurred here. And the police went on, we have arrested a boy, a 12-year-old, taken into custody. Thanks to everyone who raised it. Racism won't be tolerated. Daisy, arresting a 12-year-old for a racist Instagram message, aren't there better ways to handle this stuff?
Of course there are better ways to handle this stuff. This is a massive waste of police resources aside from anything else. I mean, I'd say you shouldn't arrest an adult for sending racist messages on Instagram if he's not threatening violence or anything, which he's not, let alone arresting a 12-year-old. And certainly the commentary I've seen floating around Twitter is that the West Midlands police will happily turn a blind eye to mostly Muslim grooming gangs targeting white girls for decades. But oh no, a 12-year-old sends a nasty message and he gets arrested. That's the sort of consensus going round. So this should be dealt with at a parental level and an educational level, not a police level. But having said that, Andrew, I think it is of huge concern that a 12-year-old is sending these kinds of messages. I mean, this isn't some silly sort of Redskins changing its name thing. These messages were really racist. I mean, we know what the Ku Klux Klan has done. And there was also, he sent a picture of a minstrel character as well, like, you know, your quintessentially racist stuff. It was really bad, and the kid needs to be punished harshly and made to realise that is not the right thing to do. And I've seen people hypothesising again on social media this was what was trending, that perhaps, obviously, he's learnt this behaviour from adults. Maybe he has a terrible home life. My theory, however, I think this is much more likely, is that he probably has a perfectly normal home life, but he spends way too much time on the internet consuming stuff that his parents don't know about. And this is a warning to all parents out there. You need to be so engaged with your kids' internet experience nowadays, because the internet is like the Wild West. It is largely lawless, and if you spend enough time there, you're definitely going to come across something awful and dangerous. So parents out there, keep an eye on your kids, because this is how this kind of stuff happens.
Yeah, I think the police should just have a chat with the parents first and maybe just suss them out for a start. But anyway, here you go. Daisy, the craziness of the cancel culture. We had the Hispanic head of an Hispanic food company called Goya praising Donald Trump the other day. Here he is.
We're all truly blessed at the same time to have a leader like President Trump, who is a builder.
And so he's praising Donald Trump to his face. Donald Trump is off to the side. That company now, as a result, is being trolled and banned by leftists such as model Chrissy Teigen, because they say Trump once said nasty things about Mexicans. And so can you explain to me why these leftists justify now being mean to the Latino workers at this Latino company as a protest against Donald Trump being mean to Latinos? How does that wash out?
Well, it's pretty ironic, Andrew. I mean, that's a very, very good way of putting it, particularly as it is a Latino Congresswoman, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who is one of those leading the boycott, you know, tweeting that she would be Googling the recipe for her own Hispanic foods, etc. It's a little bit not so good of a congresswoman to be telling people to boycott businesses, particularly in these trying times, you know. And again, it's so ironic. I mean, the left goes on about how oppressed Hispanic people are in America and how mean Donald Trump has been to them and how they should be empowered. The minute you get a hint of an Hispanic business, and a very successful one at that, with a very successful CEO, which again is contrary to their identity politics narrative of Hispanics as oppressed, daring to utter a hint of the wrong politics, then, oh no, none of that matters and it's all systems go and let's cancel them and let's boycott them. Look, people are free to boycott whatever they want. There were a lot of conservatives who boycotted Nike when they kind of linked arms with Colin Kaepernick, that whole business. The leftists are free to do the same here, but oh my goodness, you have to stand back and admire the consistent inconsistency of the regressive left.
Well, you do indeed. I mean, if you don't want to patronise a company, fine, you do that. But to actually try and really, really damage it, get other people to do it because of what someone said and hurt the workers in there, I mean, for heaven's sake, that is just... Cancel culture, Daisy, you've spoken about it before, and I think it'll be a big topic over the next decade or two while we're allowed to actually talk about it. That is. Daisy Cousens, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Andrew.